Hi, my name is Olivia Rick, and I will be discussing the abortion clinic violence that occurred um, between in the 70s and the 90s. So, a bit of background on this and my research question as well. My research question was, what are the causes of violence against abortion clinics? I was really just looking into kind of the general background of this and kind of what that violence looked like in this time. Um, so this, like I said, this was a time period of around 1977 to 1995 where there was a string of violent acts against abortion clinics and abortion doctors. This included arson, bombings, shootings, and assassinations as well. So like I said, the violence, the attacks targeted clinics and doctors. So um, and these attacks were linked to right-wing extremist groups. And I put an example, the American Coalition of Life activists. Now, this is currently an active party um, in the United States. However, it has been reformed. Multiple of the parties who participated in attacks like these that are still around in the United States are reformed parties. They do still have conservative values. However, they are not willing to take the extremist actions that their forefathers did. So I want to talk a little bit about um, some of the attacks that occurred during this time. So there were, at the end of this time period in around 1994, 1995, there had been over 100 bombings up the East Coast. And then eventually, due to the rise of a theocratic rule, there was the Rescue America or Operation Rescue. They proposed this idea that there should be theocratic rule and that the United States should go back to biblical laws because um, the case Roe versus Wade created this sense of tragedy for these people who believed that abortion was morally wrong, and I will get to that later. Who believed abortion was morally wrong, and they did not believe that it should be legal in the United States under any circumstance. Um, Roe versus Wade, in my paper, I go into more detail about the case, but Roe versus Wade was a landmark case in the United States. It gave women the right to choose whether or not they will continue their pregnancy. And this was a really big and political topic. And again, I'll get into that later. But a few of these right-wing groups took it upon themselves because they did not see the United States doing enough. So they took this cause upon themselves to attack clinics and kill doctors. So that's a bit of background. And then this is what I found. Basically, the violence, like I said, was motivated by anti-abortion ideology, either religious or morally. The bombings were actually intended to cause damage and cost the clinics millions of dollars, so that way they would not be able to continue to be open, thus eliminating the root of the cause, eliminating their services. However, these tactics, while they were influential and they did end up working and they did end up costing clinics millions of dollars, it was not deterring people from using these services. So they resorted to killing doctors, making martyrs, not necessarily martyrs, but making a point by hurting these people. So rather than continuing to use less violent methods, a few of the extremist individuals who I named in my paper, Paul Hill, John Sylvia, they both took it upon themselves to kill doctors. Two cases I discussed in my paper, the Birmingham case and the case in Massachusetts. Those were both very famous assassinations where doctors were kidnapped and shot either from their homes or from their places of work. Like I mentioned, this was politicized after the Roe v. Wade decision. However, the bombings had little effect on the goal to make abortion illegal. So abortion remained illegal. Like I said, this did not really deter people from using clinic services. So it was not the movement, the cause that these people really wanted it to be. So in my conclusion, I talk about how the rise of violence was caused by a sense of deprivation and injustice. In my paper, I talk about the mass society theory. I also think that these people felt that their rights were being deprived, and they saw the passage of Roe versus Wade as an injustice to American society. They believed it was not morally, that's my third point. They believed that it was not morally correct to make abortion accessible, nationally speaking. Furthermore, their methods were not as effective as the legislative process. I do analyze this in my paper, but their methods were extreme and violent, and they really did not, they sent a message, and the government did respond by condemning the acts and having hearings and testimonies trying to figure out how to fix this problem. But it wasn't until 2022 that Roe v. Wade was overturned. And this was through the legislative process, states passing laws that go against the case in order to get it seen again by the Supreme Court. So anti-abortion ideology groups took extreme action because they did not believe abortion was morally right. And this is really the thesis of their methods and why they performed the violence that they did. They did not see this as the future of America, and yet this is what they were seeing in their society, and they did not like it. So they decided to take it into their own hands, and this is where mass society theory comes in. And then here are my references. So thank you very much.